Welcome to ENG 303. Study Session 6. Context-free phrase structure rules. Introduction. Structures in a language are usually analyzed to know the workings of the language. In analyzing such structures, the linguistic students find out some regularity from which certain deductions can be made. In this section, we discuss such rules, phrase structure rules, for example, rules that explain the structure of a phrase. Phrase in this sense is a technical term that represents any structure from a word to a clause. Phrase structure rules are in two categories: context-free phrase structure rules and context-sensitive phrase structure rules. In this lecture, we shall discuss the former, and in the next we will discuss the latter. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Interpret phrase structure rules, 2. Generate context-free phrase structure rules, and 3. Generate different sentences from phrase structure rules. Pre-test. 1. What is a rule? 2. Which elements are optional and which are obligatory? 3. What are the uses of arrows, brackets, and braces in phrase structure rules? Content. Phrase structure grammar accounts for the structure of expressions in a language. As a grammar, it explains which words could occur structurally in a language. However, it does not take context into consideration. Rather, its emphasis is on the grammatical structure of a sentence. The phrase. The phrase in traditional grammar is described as a group of words which, except it is a verb phrase, lacks a finite verb. The phrase is grammatically equivalent to a single word. It also has a key word or head word from which the phrase derives its name. Thus, a noun phrase will have a noun as head, an adjectival phrase will have an adjective as head, and so on. A basic sentence normally contains some phrases such as the noun phrase, the verb phrase, and the inflection. Let us explore this before going into a discussion of sentence structure. The general phrase structure rule is the following. This rule means that a hypothetical sentence S expands or is rewritten as noun phrase NP, inflection INFL, and verb phrase VP. Each of these major components also contains smaller constituents. For instance, an NP may contain determinants such as an article or a quantifier, an adjective, and a noun. A verb phrase may contain a verb alone or a verb plus a noun or adjectival phrase and or an adverbial phrase or clause. The inflection will contain agreement tense and optionally modal and aspect. Thus, we can divide average sentences along these three patterns as follows. Having drawn this table, we can see clearly the components of each phrase. Let us discuss them one after the other. A. The noun phrase. The noun phrase is a group of words that has a noun as its head or key word. It ranges from one word to several words. 1. Rock. 2. The rock. 3. The huge rock. 4. The huge rock in the garden. These four expressions belong to the class of noun phrases because they have a noun as their respective heads. To analyze them, we generate a rule explaining the contents of each of them as follows. The rule says that the item to the left of the arrow, for example the NPs, are rewritten or expanded as the items stated to the right of the arrows in each of the rules above. Notice that the categorical name of each item is stated in the rule. However, the last rule contains a phrasal category PP, which still has to be analyzed further. In syntax, such rules reproduced below are said to be inelegant since they contain repetitions of the same elements. To make them precise, we collapse the rule into one set. The process is simple. Just ensure that all the components in the rules are represented in your final rule. For instance, NP occurs at the beginning of every rule. So we rewrite NP at the beginning and insert the arrow. Next is the expansion. In rule 1, NP expands as N, but in 2, DET occurs before N. Det also occurs before other components in the other rules, so we write det immediately after the arrow. However, det has to be enclosed in brackets because it does not occur in one of the rules. 1. It is optional for that rule. ADJ occurs after det in rules 3 and 4, but not in 1 and 2. This means that we shall write adjective after det, and because it does not occur in some instances, we enclose it in brackets. The next item in the rule is N. N occurs in all the rules, although different items occur before it in 1 to 3. We shall follow the order that exists in the longest rule. This is because the rule contains most of the elements and the order is stipulated there. So we write N after ADJ. However, this N will not be enclosed in a bracket since it occurs in all the rules. It is obligatory. Finally, we shall write PP after the noun since this is the position it occupies in the rule where it features. Again, it has to be enclosed in brackets because it occurs only once in all the rules. The summary of our discussion of the rules, therefore, is NP, arrow det, brackets, ADG brackets, N, bracket PP. It is the final rule that explains all the structures listed above. Let us probe further into the structure of the NP by analyzing the subject NP of the sentences above. When you look closely at these rules, you will realize that they are different from the earlier ones. This is because we have different structures. This means that different structured will generate different rules. In the set of rules, 2 rules are similar, 1 and 3. Expanding NP as N, rule 2 contains DET, ADJ and N. The final rules 4 to 6 are identical. They expand NP as pro. When we attempt to collapse the rules, we realize that the first 3 are easy to collapse into one as NP, arrow, bracket, DET, ADJ, open bracket, N. Det and N are enclosed in brackets because they occur in one rule, but not in the others. However, a problem occurs with the last 2 rules where the NP expands as pro. The next step is to see whether any item in our rules above occurs before or after pro. Since there is none, we put pro on a separate line as part of the rules as follows. This rules means that an NP in the above structures can expand as optional determiner, followed by optional adjective and obligatory noun, or as a pronoun. This is the reason why the whole set is put in braces. Now, let us look at the inflection. Inflection. The inflection, usually written as infl, is principally a part of the verb. It contains components such as tense, agreement, modal, and aspect, all of which play different roles in the grammaticality of sentences constructed. The items listed above usually occur in a particular order, and this is expressed in the auxiliary expansion rule below. According to this rule, the inflection expands as an obligatory AGR, he meant, followed by obligatory TNS, tense, optional modal, and optional ASP bracket ECT. We can further expand each of these components and their subcomponents as follows. AGR, arrow, person, number, gender, case. Person, first, second, third. Number, singular, plural. Gender, masculine, feminine, neuter. Case, nominative, accusative, genitive. TNS, present, past. Modal, modal verbs. Aspect, perfective, progressive. Perfective, have, en, progressive, being. We can now explain each of them as they occur above. AGR is an obligatory category. By this, we mean that the AGR elements must be noted in English sentences. In traditional grammar, this concept is conceived in terms of subject-verb-concord relation. Hence, AGR in the current grammar as featured of persons, number, gender, and case. Person, pers, bracket, refers to the traditional concept of people that are interacting. These are the first person, the speaker, the second person, the addressee, and the third person, the person or thing being talked about. Number, in bracket num, is in terms of plurality. It is either singular or plural, not both. Gender is next, and it is referred to the grammatical sex of the subjects. Gender can be masculine for male, feminine for female, neuter for subjects that are neither male nor female. The last component is case. In this grammar, only 3 cases are recognized. These are nominative, accusative, and genitive. However, for purposes of this course, case will not be considered. The next item after infl is tense. Tense refers to the time an action took place. It is the second obligatory item in infl. Tense in the current grammar is different from what obtains in traditional grammar. It is either present or past. The remaining components are M, bracket modal, and ASP, bracket ECT. Modal accounts for the place of modal auxiliaries in the grammar and cannot be further expanded, but ASP has 2 forms, perfective and progressive. The perfective pav in bracket aspect expand as have en, while progressive prog aspect expands as be being. Notice that this accounts for the traditional grammar concept of progressive and perfective tenses. Consider the following examples. 1. Kanu plays soccer. 2. You can drive the car. 3. Hamad and Zainab have many books. 4. I am riding a bicycle. 5. Tayo could have bought the book. 6. Jane may have been sweeping the floor. In these sentences, we shall analyze only the infl elements. These elements may or may not be physically realized, but the words in which they can be found are printed in italics above. Let's take them one after the other. The INFL in example 1 expands as follows. The relevant word from which the INFL elements are extracted is place. Notice that the purse and no features are taken from the subject, Kanu, which is a third-person singular number subject of the sentence. Sentence 2. The relevant word is can. The following is the analysis. Sentence 3. The relevant word is has. In this analysis, we are able to know the AGR features through the subjects, which agrees with the verb. The feature of tense is not physically manifested on the verb, so it is assumed that the first verb bears the tense. Sentence 4. The relevant words are I'm going. In this example, we took the features of AGR from the subject and tense from the first verb. The feature of aspect is taken from the second verb, going. Sentence 5. The relevant words are could have bought. In these rules, modal and aspect occur. The original modal is could, but since we have identified the tense as past, the modal returns to the base form. ASP has only one form, which is perfective. Sentence 6. The relevant words are may have been sweeping. Notice that this sentence has the full complement of the auxiliary elements. More importantly, ASP has both perf and prog elements. Now that we have looked at the components of INFL in each structure, we shall go further to merge the rules into one set. In this sense, we will take similar rules from the 6 sets above and collapse them into one. Here we go. Sentence 1. INFL ROAGR TNS. Sentence 2. INFL ROAGR TNS M. Sentence 3. INFL ROAGR TNS. Sentence 4. INFL ROAGR TNS ASP. Sentence 5. INFL ROAGR TNS MASP. Sentence 6. INFL ROAGR TNS MASP. As these rules show, sentences 1 and 3 do not have M and ASP. Sentence does not have ASP and sentence 4 lacks M. Technically speaking, when all rules have a particular component recurring in them, that item is said to be obligatory. However, when a rule lacks an item which other rules possess, the item is said to be optional. So, in the rules above, ASP and M are optional in those places where they are absent, while AGR and TNS are obligatory because they occur in all the rules. When all the rules are collapsed, the result is the following. This rule means that INFL expands as obligatory AGR and TNS features and optional modal and aspect. The rules for AGR are the same for all the sentences. So all the components are obligatory and they are so represented as follows. For pairs and no features, there are different values in the rules, while those in sentences 1, 3, 5, and 6 have third person feature. Those in 2 and 4 have first and second person features. Notice that there is no structure in which the persons follow one another. Hence, we can collapse the 6 rules above into pairs, first, second, third. No, SG, PL. The next item after AGR is tense. Tense is present in sentences 1 to 4 and sentence 6 and past in sentence 5. Again, there is no structure in which present tense follows past or vice versa. Hence, the rule for tense is as follows. Tense, pres, past. Model expands as a word in the sentence. Hence, it has only one word, which is taken from the sentence. Finally, ASP occurs in sentence 4 with prog aspect, in 5 with perv aspect, and in 6 with prog and perv ASP. Notice the perv occurs before prog. Hence, this order is followed in the following rule. This rule concludes our analysis and discussion of the inflection node. Let us look at the verbs phrase, the third major component of a sentence. The verb phrase. The verb phrase contains a verb and any other component. When the verb is transitive, for example, kick, write, see, the verb is followed by a noun phrase. If the verb is intransitive, for example, yawn, sleep, laugh, it does not require a noun phrase complement, but may be followed by an adverbial or a prepositional phrase that contains as an adverb. Notice that when a verb is transitive, it may also take an adverb, but this adverb occurs after the noun phrase complements. Consider the following examples. 1. Kick the ball. 2. Write the letter now. 3. See that man on a bike. 4. The boy yawned. 5. The man slept soundly. 6. Bisi laughed heartily. Let us analyze the verb phrases. Example 1. In the VP, there are only 2 constituents, the V and the NP, which is later analyzed to its own component parts. Example 2. As we can see, the verb is followed by 2 major constituents, NP and ADVP. Notice that now is a single word, yet it is first analyzed as an ADVP before it is further analyzed as a word. The fact is that it stands for the adverbial family, so to say, and it just happens to be a single word. There could have been 2 or more words in that position. Example 3. The difference between this structure and that in 3 is that ADVP occurs in 2, while PP occurs in 3. Nevertheless, both function alike, though they have different categorical names. To generate a set of rules for the first 3 sentences, we proceed as we did earlier for the other categories. First, take the major categories. In these rules, VP, ROV, NP occurs in all the rules and are therefore said to be obligatory. However, ADVP and PP do not occur in all the rules and are therefore considered to be optional. Because of this, both items will be put in brackets while the former will not have brackets. Again, PP and ADVP do not occur in the same structures. It is therefore difficult to say which one precedes the other. To solve this problem, we should put them one on top of the other and enclose them in brackets. The old rule is as follows. This rule means that a verb phrase in the structures above expands as a main verb followed by an obligatory NP and either an ADVP or a PP, which are optional. In addition, since we have identified phrasal categories ADVP and PP, we have to analyze them to show their components. Hence, we have the following rules. It is not necessary to analyze the NP again, since we have analyzed it earlier. If we do, we shall be repeating rules, and this amounts to redundancy, which is discouraged in grammar. Let's analyze the other sentences. Example 4. VP ROV. Example 5. VP ROV ADVP. ADVP ROADVP. Example 6. VP ROVA DVP ADVP ROADV. In example 4, the VP has only one component, which is the head of the phrase. In examples 5 and 6, the head V is followed by an ADVP. The rules can then be collapsed as follows. This rule expands the VP as an obligatory V and optional ADVP, since ADVP does not occur in all the instances. The ADVP also expands as ADV. Sentences. Having looked at the components of typical sentences, we shall now proceed to analyze full sentences and generate phrase structure rules for them. Consider these examples and their analysis. A. Fola has brought some food. 7b. The boss can drive a bus. 7c. Shade should be praying. Notice that the analysis starts from large structures, the sentences, to smaller phrases and smallest word forms. Now that we have generated rules for each of the sentences, we shall collapse the rules into one set. The procedure is the same as that of the earlier analysis. Let's start with the rule for the sentence S. RONPINFLVP. The rule is common to all the sentences analyzed, and all the components in the sentence are obligatory. That is why this rule is written at the beginning of all analysis of sentences. Next is the NP. Here are the rules from different sentences. N is obligatory in these rules, but det is optional. This information is presented in the following. NP arrow det N. For the INFL, we have extracted these rules. 10. Sentence A. INFL arrow AGR TNS ASP. Sentence B. INFL arrow AGR TNS M. Sentence C. INFL arrow AGR TNS MASP. When we collapse these rules into one, we will arrive at the following. This rule states that both AGR and TNS are obligatory, while modal and aspect are optional. Note that M occurs in 10B and C, but not in 10A. And ASP occurs in 10A and C, not in 10B. This explains why they are optional in Rule 11. On AGR, we extracted the following rules. As you can see, all the components in each of these rules are obligatory. So, we construct a rule that states this fact. The next items are person and number, which are constituents of AGR. Consider this. Since the three rules are identical, it means they are obligatory. The final rule is the situation is similar for number. Since the features are the same for sentences A to C, we generate the following rule. Next on the set of rules is tense. Consider the following. Again, the rules are identical and are collapsed into 65. The modal cannot be expanded after TNS has been extracted, so the base form of the modal is retained. In the examples above, ASP occurs in two sentences. These are presented below. 20. Sentence A, ASP arrow perf. Sentence B, ASP arrow prog. Notice that the two components of ASP do not follow each other in any of the rules. Therefore, we cannot rearrange them in a sequential order. Rather, we put them in braces to reflect only what occurs in the sentences under analysis. Furthermore, let us look at the rules of the VP. In 23, V is obligatory but NP is optional. Therefore, the rule is VP arrow V bracket NP. Now that we have walked through the sentences and generated rules for them, we present below a set of rules that can generate the sentences above and other similar ones. Finally, we shall present the lexical items that occur in the sentences above. This will be based on their different categories. N, Shade, boss. Fola, food, boss. V, pray, drive, bring. Det, the. A, some. M, shall, can. Given these rules, we can generate those sentences above and others like them. Moreover, the rules allow us to generate ungrammatical sentences. Here are some of the sentences that can be generated from the rules. Shade should be praying. The boss can drive a bus. Fola has brought some food. The boss shall be praying. Shade can bring the boss. Fola could be praying. The boss has brought some food. Shade brought some food. A boss can be praying. Some food will be praying. A boss should bring some food. As we can deduce from these sentences, examples A to H are acceptable, but those in I to K are ungrammatical. Notice that ungrammatical sentences are normally marked with an asterisk. In addition, the rules were generated without considering the peculiar features of the individual words that make up the sentences. Such rules which do not take the structure into consideration are called context-free rules. Rules which incorporate context are called context-sensitive rules. Summary. In this chapter, we have looked at the basic sentence and its components. We also discussed the workings of elements in the basic sentence and generated context-free rules for different basic sentences. Finally, we observed that context-free rules generate both grammatical and ungrammatical sentences. We have come to the end of study section 6. Thanks for listening.